That we don't walk in the light by trying not to walk in darkness. We avoid walking in darkness by trying to walk in the light. If we treat sin as the major problem, and if all our Christian growth program is managing sin, we will always find that we lack true, deep Christian character. We will always find that we lack. We have been shaped by three forces that draw us toward walking in darkness: the world, the flesh, and the devil. And the remedy to each of these, and this is really critical, will be the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so what is meant by the world? The world are the patterns, the examples, the institutions that are aligned against God. It's the systems, it's the air we breathe in many respects, and the currents that we operate in that draw us away from God. So the world is anti-God systems. And sexual sin is far from the only sin that's systemic, that's built into the way the world is working. Self-righteousness is systemic. Judgment is systemic. Racism is systemic. These things are built into the fabric, and there are ways in which we can see it, and there are ways in which it operates hidden. And so one of the reasons that we struggle with sin the way we do is that we are operating in a current that in many respects pushes us the wrong way. The solution to the world and being shaped or formed by the world is to be shaped or formed by the Son. And so the Son offers fundamentally a different way, example, and way of being in the world. And this is where the church comes in. The whole intent of the church, and it has struggled in many ways to live up to this, but the intent of the church is to be the anti-world. It's intended to be an institution and a system that instead of operating the current toward the devil, acts as an alternative current toward God. There are places where we simply will not get without one another. And if we won't allow the church to get close enough to us or us to it to transform, then there will be parts of us that may never change. One of God's ways of working in the world, far from the only way, is through intimate Christian community. The flesh. Flesh are the internal desires, thoughts, habits, my drive that is again bent away from God. We share a common human tradition where parts of ourselves bend away from God and toward the enemy. And so the alternative to the flesh is what? Paul contrasts flesh with spirit. God does not come merely as an example, as an alternative philosophy, but God comes in a way that indwells us and provides us an alternative way to be from the inside. But there are lots of parts of ourselves that have yet to let him in. The Spirit is the thing that shapes over time our desires, our thoughts, our ambitions, as we allow it. Disciplines shape our will and our habits over time, but they are empowered not by our effort. Without the Spirit, the best disciplines will not bring life. And finally, the devil. The devil is the source and director of the world and the flesh. But instead of focusing on him, we need to become more enthralled with the Father. Many of us focus on our sin instead of focusing on why we sin. As you are struggling with something, begin to ask yourself in prayer and with wise counsel, what is feeding this? What's the impetus? What's the push? What's the thing that I'm trying to get or to do? And then that is your invitation. That is your place to experience the love of God in a new way. But you will find ways of encountering the goodness and love of God that are unique to the ways in which you struggle to receive it. It will always look like not God's love of humanity, but God's love of you.